Tonight, Colin Barnett celebrated his election victory.
Mark McGowan admitted defeat but vowed to fight on.
Financial Secretary under fire after the budget announcement.
And 7 people injured after the elevator dropped onto the ground floor.
This is the evening news with Ivan Leung and Danielle Staniskov.
We'll begin with election results. WA News can report and confirm that WA Liberal leader Colin Barnett will continue to govern Western Australia after defeating WA Labor opposition leader Mark McGowan in tonight's state election.
Liberal leader Colin Barnett and the Liberal Party have been re-elected to rapturous applause and chants of 4 more years from his supporters. During his speech, he thanked his supporters, his team, the Labour opposition and other political parties for making this election competitive. In a calm and composed manner, Mr Barnett told the media that he's delighted with the result.
And some of those seats you mentioned have been out there for 6 to 12 months, knocking on doors every day. We've been putting a lot of material into people's letterboxes, a lot of campaigning, and there's no doubt that candidates, quality candidates, who worked hard for a long period of time, got their reward today.
Earlier on election day, Mr Barnett and his wife went voting in their Cottesloe electorate with support from the federal deputy opposition leader, Julia Bishop. Shibs Way, WAMN News.
WA Labor leader Mark McGowan admits defeat at the Labor Party headquarters. In his speech, Mr McGowan has thanked his supporters and vowed the party will continue to fight on.
I rang the Premier, Colin Barnett, and conceded defeat in the state election of 2013. The Premier was very gracious in accepting my concession, and in fact we had a very nice little chat about the events of the last few weeks. We did our best in the circumstances that were presented to us, and I think we did a good job. I think we did a good job.
After almost 4 weeks' worth of election campaign, the word Metronet has become the magic word in WA. It's a word that helped Labor to sell their policies, and the opposite, the word for the Liberals to argue. Here's my special report looking back at the election campaign and how Metronet relates to it all.
Metronet.
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 The word Metronet might arguably be the most heard of term in West Australian news and politics. We all know it's about Labor's ambitious rail plan, but how did it all begin, and why was it so controversial?
Oh, look, Metronet came out of a range of conversations and discussions that I've been having with transport planners and engineers and others over a number of years. We put out some ideas and some discussions probably over 2 years ago.
WA Labor's Shadow Transport Minister, Ken Travis.
We recognised very early on that Perth was facing a congestion crisis, that we needed to do something really different that would revolutionise the way in which people travel around our city, and that's what Metronet does.
The first mention of Metronet began in late 2012, when Mark McGowan announced the rail plan for Perth.
This is about beating the congestion crisis. This is about making sure we have a plan for rail that will meet the needs of our city for decades to come.
The Liberals later responded in the campaign with their own airport rail line and the Max Light Rail project. But as the election campaign moved on, more debates on the airport line intensified.
Mark McGowan has been announcing rail projects all over the metropolitan area. There have been major flaws in those plans, particularly the proposal to go to the airport, which is hopelessly undercosted and also doesn't actually get to the airport terminal.
How close will your station be to the new domestic terminal, and by when?
Our new station will be built as part of the future domestic terminal that will be built over next door to the international terminal.
By distance, how close will it be?
It will be a part of it. I mean, it will be a part of it. I mean, what more? How clearer can I be?
I get really angry when I see my opponent telling a complete lie about Labor's plans, just completely trying to mislead the public to undermine our proposals.
After the airport line dispute, the costing argument went further when the opposition plans to shift the new stadium from Burswood, scrapping the new museum and light rail project.
The maths is clear, the arguments are clear, the right location is Kitchener Park. We'll save the taxpayers' money, we'll build Metronet.
Labor is prepared to abandon a whole lot of important projects for Western Australia simply to try and fill the hole in their costings
on their rail objectives.
So I have from the PTA is that what the Labor Party are proposing to deliver in their rail plan will cost approximately $6.3, $6.4 billion, but well over $6 billion. They have allocated $3.8 billion. That is a massive funding black hole that they need to be able to explain.
The opposition later submitted Metronet to Treasury for costing after a much heated debate.
But I know that we're going to have some discussions with them as of Monday, so we will be submitting our Metronet plan to Treasury shortly.
However, the Treasury's results showed that both parties got it wrong. It's obvious to all that both Labour and Liberal are sticking with their rail plans, but in the end, it's all up to the public to judge who's the best for the top job. Ivan Leung, WMN News.
To other stories now, Channel 9's legendary veteran journalist Peter Harvey has passed away last Saturday after losing his battle with pancreatic cancer aged 68. Mr Harvey was well known for his role as a Canberra correspondent for National 9 News and his mailbag section on 60 Minutes. He began his career in the Daily Telegraph newspaper, and in 1964 he won the Walkley Award. He then joined the Nine Network in 1975. Ivan.
Thanks, Danielle. A design competition for the King James Square project will be held by the city of Fremantle. The competition is part of the $220 million redevelopment plan to revitalise the Fremantle CBD area.
The King Square project is a $220 million redevelopment of the Fremantle City Civic Centre, and the business plan for the project was approved last month. As part of this redevelopment, the City of Fremantle is embarking on an international design competition for the Civic Triangle. Fremantle City Mayor Dr. Brett Pettit shares with us more on this competition.
The international design competition will be for the Civic Triangle, which will include the council office building, the library and the council chambers and the public meeting rooms. We're putting out to an international competition so we get the best architecture for Fremantle. In fact, we hope that this architecture will be the heritage for the next 100 years.
The city is working with former state government architect Geoffrey London, who will be heading the judging panel. Dr. Pettit shares with us more on what the competition hopes to see from the designers.
What we want is innovative design, but also design and innovation which I think reflects the special nature of Fremantle and its architecture. So we want it to be modern, but also reflecting what I think is the fantastic historic built heritage that we have in Fremantle.
The design competition is set to take place over the next few months, and the city hopes to be able to begin construction in the second part of 2013. Timothy Xiao, WAMN News.
To Hong Kong stories now. The Financial Secretary John Tsang faced a barrage of criticism after the government released the Budget 2013 late last week. As Hong Kong correspondent Queenie reports, the pan-democratic legislators are not giving Mr Tsang a break.
Hong Kong community criticizes the Finance Secretary John Tsang after he announced the budget plan for 2013-14. They expresses that the plan does not really help the people in various aspects. Professor at the University of Hong Kong, Paul Yip, describes the plan as lack of ideas and innovation, especially in the education field. He had strong reservations regarding the proposal to inject 480 million scholarships for 20 local talented students each year. Also, there are various feedbacks regarding the plans of the Community Care Fund and electricity subsidy. Public expresses their concerns that the plans might not solve the real problems of poverty. Queenie Lee, WAMN News, Hong Kong.
7 people are injured after the elevator they travelled in has plunged onto the ground floor. It's understood that all cables lifting the elevator has snapped, causing the terrifying encounter. An investigation was launched by the Electrical and Mechanical Services Department to determine what went wrong. It's understood the 40-year-old elevator has dropped from the 3rd floor onto the ground floor.
To world news now. 3 Bolivian soldiers who were detained by Chilean authorities were expelled from Chile. They were detained since the 25th of January this year after they allegedly carried weapons and entered Chile illegally. Chile correspondent Brian Ramiro Perez reports from San Diego.
The soldiers detained for 32 days in Chile were promoted to the rank of corporal to highlight their dignity, courage and loyalty to the homeland by the Bolivian government. The soldiers returned to their home country on Friday after agreeing not to enter in Chilean territory in a year.
Rehenes políticos
una venganza aplicada del presidente Piñera hacia nuestros soldados, nuestros conscriptos. ¿Y es delito reclamar el mar ante la comunidad internacional? ¿Quiere vengarse de eso?
En Chile no hay presos políticos ni ánimo alguno de venganza.
His lawyer said the case should have been solved with the expulsion of the 3 soldiers, but that possibility was frustrated by a judicial case. The Chilean justice released the 3 Bolivian soldiers detained at the Chilean border, which had generated a strong demand for Bolivia in the United Nations, and intensified the tension between the 2 countries over maritime dispute. Brian Ramirez, WAM News, Chile.
Well, that's how the world looks tonight on this election day.
Don't forget to click onto our website for the latest news. Good evening.
Good night.
Can I thank my beautiful wife Sarah